Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Alyssa Harrison, and today on the show we have Micheal Halliday, the leader of the BC Excalibur Party. So, Micheal, you are a first-time candidate. Can you just tell us a little bit about why you got into politics and what you'll be bringing to the election this year?
Actually, I've ran in Falls Creek when I thought there was going to be the transferable vote, and then I decided not to do it anymore. But I got into the politics because this time because I was talking to people, and 85% of them just said they didn't know who they were going to vote for, and 50% said they just weren't giving any of the parties their vote. They didn't represent them. So I formed the party with that in mind.
And so, what can you just tell us a little bit about the Excalibur Party and what you guys are standing for in the election?
Well, the Excalibur Party stands for truth, honor, and justice. That's why we use the sword Excalibur from the Arthurian legends. It united the people and brought in a golden age to the country where truth, honor, and justice were the prime principles. And we believe that if a government was to operate that way, you wouldn't have things like the HST fiasco, the BC Rail, the buying the ethnic votes, things like that.
And what would you say sets Excalibur apart from other parties?
I think what sets us apart is that we don't cater to one particular group. Like the Liberals are really big business and self-interest, while the NDP cater more to the unions. If there's a dispute, it's going to be the unions that win out. We go for balance. Our motto is balance, and also the government and the land and the people are one. So we should all work together, and I think that's what sets us apart. We strive for the balance. Our party has everyone from every walks of life in it, and so everyone's represented.
And so right now, currently, there are six members in the party, and it looks like predominantly there's most in the kind of the Fraser Valley region. So have you been getting a lot of exposure in the Vancouver, kind of Greater Vancouver area?
Unfortunately, I think that's the main problem, is that the province and the Sun totally ignored us even when we contacted them. And we had a hard time even getting onto campuses where we could spread the word that we existed and try and find candidates. So I'm afraid Vancouver has really been neglected by the media in general, except the Georgia Straight. They were great. They did put an article out for us. But as far as the big papers go, no.
And so, what kind of what have you been doing so far on the kind of on the campaign trail to, to get the word out that you guys are running in the election?
Basically, we've been trying to contact individuals directly. We've been contacting the other newspapers that will carry information. We have the website, Facebook, and Twitter, and any way we can think of to contact people. But unfortunately, when Vancouver is really served by two main papers, then you're really at a loss with that. As far as regular papers for a particular city or town or that, we've had very good coverage. I'm actually very impressed at their work towards democracy and representing everyone.
Great. And so, what do you think are the most important issues in BC right now, and what are the Excalibur Party's take on them for solving some of the problems?
I think actually a lot of the problems have been around for a long time, and the political parties bring them up at election time, but nothing seems to get done about them. And so we're saying we're going to address them. If they're unsolvable, stop bringing them up at election time like you're going to solve them, and if they are solvable, then solve them. It's that simple. Don't just keep using them as an election ploy. We plan on tackling the homelessness and the reintegration. We're going to tackle job creation. Tuition, I think, is becoming a very big problem because it's becoming unaffordable. That brings in also housing. The rents are astronomical. I've talked to people that are paying 80% to 100% of their income on housing alone, either buying or renting. So we've got some creative ways so that people can actually maybe purchase their own home. And we're also going to tackle the medical. The waiting lists are ridiculous. We can get those down to no waits within a year, except, of course, if they're organ transplants, then you have to wait for a donor. But otherwise, we can tackle it and also trim the fat on the medical. There's a lot of wastage.
And so, what are some of the ways that that you would try to tackle these issues?
Some of them will release when we're actually in, but trimming the fat for one thing, so there's more of a fund, so that more things can be done. Because there's shortages, there's not enough money in the medical, supposedly, but I disagree with that. I also think the province is a lot richer than they let us know. It's just that they're siphoning off money into areas that are not required or beneficial to the population as a whole.
So, and in part of on your website, you had a bit about crime sec. Can you just explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, that will be basically a body that's created to address, just to investigate and oh, my mind's blank on that. But basically, like even fraud in like identity theft, it can investigate, work with the people to restore it. A lot of the times it seems you're just left, if you have identity theft, it's like too bad and okay, you say that, you know, it's not you, but they don't work with you. It's really, the onus is on you, and you have to suffer the consequences till you can clean it up, and that can take up to a year or more. And in that time, your credit rating's damaged. You can even have a criminal record when you're totally innocent. It'll also investigate corporations, government agencies, etc. It's there to represent the people.
And another big part of your party platform were a lot of environmental issues. So can you just give us some of your opinions on what big environmental issues? Obviously, the pipeline and liquefied natural gas are big ones, but what are some other things you think are happening in the province now in regards to environmental issues that should be addressed?
I think a big one that people don't seem to be too much aware of is the actual salmon farming and how it's destroying the actual salmon runs in BC. Salmon farming brings in about $500 million, employs just over 1,000 people. The actual salmon runs bring in over $2 billion, employ thousands of people. There's towns starting to close down because the salmon runs are being destroyed. And it really does. There's extreme evidence that it's actually the salmon farms, because they're penned up unnaturally together. They can't move. They get diseases. And when the salmon runs go through, which is exactly where these farms are, and often at the narrowest points, then the salmon become infected. They don't lay their eggs. They die in the hundreds of thousands, and we're actually heading for a disaster. Actually, we're already there.
And so it is getting pretty close to election time. So just to wrap things up, what does the Excalibur Party have planned as May 14th gets closer?
Well, basically, we are just going out, meeting the people. We've got a lot of interviews, and we're doing meet and greets and hosting events. Basically, we're just trying to get out there and meet everyone.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Once again, that was Micheal Halliday, the leader of the BC Excalibur Party. I'm Alyssa Harrison, and you're listening to Evolution 107.9.